Hey, all you lovelies. It's me, Amanda, from Under Our Umbrella, and I'm in the kitchen today to share with you guys what my favorite kitchen appliance is. This is a tough one. Well, kind of. I mean, I really like to cook. I hate the cleanup part. That is the bane of my existence. But luckily enough, I have an amazing husband who doesn't mind doing dishes and he doesn't mind taking care of that for me. So, shout out to you, Troy. Thank you so much. You're awesome. I love you. You're great. I can't say enough how much I appreciate you because I hate the dishes. I'm sure anyone in my family can attest to that. Anyways, like I said, I wanted to introduce you to my best friend in the kitchen. It's my Instantpot. Okay, so I'm one of those moms who's kind of against a lot of mainstream type things, and I had a crock pot, and I had, at one point I had one of those really nice Ronco rotisserie set it and forget it. Yeah, those guys. I had one of those until one sad day when we put it in the oven because we had people coming over and we wanted to save on counter space to put food out. So we put it in the oven thinking, oh, this is great. It's a great place to store it. It'll be out of the way. We won't have to worry about it. Until we forgot about it and left it in the oven when we preheated it for the next time we needed it. So needless to say, Aramco is off to the big garbage dump, which I'm not really a fan of doing that, but it was beyond repair. Totally melted. Almost had to throw away the rack that it was on in the oven with it. But anyways, I digress. Long story. So I bought a off-brand Instapot at a local like farm type store that we have here. It's called Farm and Fleet. And I found it in an original, this is back like when Instapots first came out, and they were originally retailing for something like $150 or $200. And I'm frugal, and I was like, there's no way you're going to catch me spending that much money on an appliance. I don't care if it cooks. Well, I mean, obviously I'll spend more than that on a fridge or a dishwasher or a stove. But as far as like a small kitchen appliance goes, there's no way I'm spending $200. So I walked into Farm and Fleet one day and I was looking for canning supplies. And I came across this Hamilton Beach brand. And it was, I want to say something like 70% off. And I got it for like $50 or something. So I was really excited that I found this great find. So I bought it and I brought it home, and then it sat in a box for probably the next 6 months because I was terrified to use it because I had read online that if you're not careful with these pressure cookers, they can explode. Scary, right? Like, I mean, hot pressurized water and food splattering all over you and your loved ones. It sounds like some kind of horror story or something. So I left it in the box for a while. And finally, I feel like I need to set this somewhere. Let's see if I can put it here and if you can still see me. Because I feel like you're bouncing around because I talk with my hands. Okay, well, sorry guys, you're going to have to bounce because it's not going to rest up there very nice. So, anyways, I let it sit in a box. And then finally I read about the water test. Now the water test is you just put water in your pressure cooker and then you test it to make sure that the seals are working, make sure that, your vents are closing properly and all that good stuff. I'm going to take the pet water cup down because that's kind of distracting. Anyways, so I finally took it out of the box and I did the water test and it worked fine. And then it was probably another few months or weeks. Well, yeah, it was probably a few weeks before I got the courage to make an actual meal in it. And everybody was telling me how great this thing was for just taking something out of the freezer and sticking it in there, like, chicken breasts or something, and sticking it in there and turning it on, and 45 minutes later, maybe tops, you have cooked chicken. And I kind of didn't believe it. So I went ahead and I tried chicken the first time. I think I put some seasonings in with it, but I just took out chicken breasts from my freezer, threw them in there, and I figured, well, if this works, I can make tacos. So I was blown away at how well this worked. I mean, I think it was like cook time was something like 30 something minutes. And I mean, when you look at cook time with a pressure cooker, you do need to take into account the fact that the cook time doesn't include the time it takes your pressure cooker to pressurize. So let's say you have a half an hour cook time. It's probably going to take your pressure cooker somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5 to 10 minutes to pressurize because it needs to build up the heat. So keep that in mind when you're looking at cook times, because if you're planning on, okay, well, we have to have dinner on the table in a half an hour because we have X, Y, and Z to do tonight, you're not going to want to find something that requires a 30-minute cook time because it's not going to be ready. You're going to want to look for something that's more like a 15-minute cook time maybe. But it's super easy to do, especially if what you have isn't frozen. Things cook up so quick in this thing. And it's also awesome because, kind of like the Ronco, you can just set it and forget it. Oh my God, that sounds so horrible. A little cringy, but anyways. So recently I went to Walmart, which is not my favorite store in the whole world, but I was there to pick something up. And I was walking around and I noticed that they had actual like name brand Instapots on sale for $40. Now I think that this is an older model. It doesn't have like a yogurt setting because I know some of them have a yogurt setting, and I was actually kind of hoping that it did because I really want to try to make my own yogurt, but it is what it is, and I'm sure that I can find a way to set it properly without having that exact setting. So not too worried about it. But I saw this and I figured, okay, well, the seal on my Hamilton Beach was finally going, and it was like 3 years later. And I am going to buy another seal. I do still have that one. But I liked it so much I wanted to. So I bought it. And this thing works awesome. One of the things I'm going to show you today, actually, you know what? I think I'm not going to show you today. I'm a horrible person. I lied to you. I think I'll wait for another video. I'll just talk to you about the different features it has and what it can do. And then I'll show you one of the favorite things I like to do with it in one of my next videos. I'll give you a little spoiler though. It has to do with dried beans. Now, dried beans are so much cheaper than canned beans. And if you are looking to homestead and you're looking to, you're thinking about growing your own beans and you want to dry them and be able to have beans in your pantry that you're making, you're going to dry them. They're going to be dried beans. And to know how to cook them from dry is really helpful and important, I think. I love to make beans in it. And I don't just eat them straight because I'm not that much of a bean fan. But I do like to use them for other recipes. So as I said, I'll cover that in another video. But so if you look here, I'm hoping that this is not totally backwards for you guys. It probably is because I have my camera the wrong way. So I'm going to hurry up and switch you guys around here if I can. Oh my gosh, I can't. No, that's horrible. Okay. Well, all right. I'm sorry. You're going to have to deal with it backwards because I'm not great at editing yet. So this is the Instantpot control panel, and you have all sorts of different settings like soup and meat and stew and cake and eggs and saute, rice, multigrain porridge, steam, slow cook. You can manually set it. You can adjust things. You can delay the start, which I think is an awesome feature. So if you want, if you want to throw some stuff in here before you go to work, because it's going to be a busy day and you got to be on the go. Well, you don't really want to set it to cook right away and then keep warm, because the keep warm function I found does keep it maybe a little too warm. Like I've had the bottom of dishes get get kind of scorched because I had it on the keep warm function for too long. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But if you delay the start, you can put everything that you want in here before you leave for the day. And then press the delay start, delay it to, you know, say it's going to take a half an hour to cook. You're going to delay it to a half an hour before you're expecting to get home or before you want to eat. And then go ahead and just set it and it's good to go. I haven't really played much with that feature just because of the fact that I'm home. So I don't really have to worry about setting the delay start, but we've got things like swim and that going on now with the kids. So I think I am going to definitely look into how to use that feature more because it's a pretty nifty feature. It's great for cooking rice. A lot of people, you have like the rice cookers and you have all of these other kitchen gadgets and they're take up a lot of space. And space can be a premium for some people. Like I have a fairly decent sized kitchen, but counter space, I have no counter space and it drives me crazy, but that's just my reality. And having 17 different things that I need to bring out for one meal isn't helpful. I've actually made recipes where I put the rice directly in with something. So say I'm going to make kind of like, I call them dump casseroles. So I'll just go in my pantry or in my fridge and I'll find out what we have and I'll just dump a bunch of stuff in there like vegetables and meats. And usually they wind up being kind of Asian inspired because I like Asian food. So I just toss it all in with the rice in there and enough liquid and it all cooks perfectly. I mean, the rice isn't mushy. It's awesome for that. So I can do everything in one pot. And that is huge for me. You can also like brown and saute in this thing. If you open it up here, it's kind of like it's not a non-stick surface, which is another thing I really like because non-stick, then you're dealing with like Teflon and you're dealing with all sorts of goofy things that you don't necessarily want leaching into your food. So the fact that this is just, I think it's stainless steel. It's awesome. Super easy to clean out. I mean, like I said, I've had things charred at the bottom and you can't even really tell. Just because we'll just set it to soak while it's still hot. And then we go ahead and scrub it out. We've got these nifty little pan scrapers that I love. It's kind of gross, but yeah, you get the idea. And they work really good because the bottom of this is a smooth surface. Another thing I really like about the Instantpot is, like I said, the ability to take something out of the freezer and have it ready. I forget a lot to take things out and defrost them in the fridge or in the sink appropriately. So having the option to just pull something out of the freezer and toss it in here with some other ingredients and then have dinner ready, it's awesome for me because I can be a little bit scatterbrained sometimes. Another thing that I think is really cool about this is that it can be used as a slow cooker. It has a slow cooker setting. So here we come again to that topic of, you've got your rice cooker, you've got your slow cooker, you've got your pressure cooker, you've got all these other different appliances that you have in your kitchen, and you can get rid of most of them. Now, you might wind up a little bit like me and find yourself collecting Instapots, like William Sonoma, I don't like you. This is not sponsored, by the way. They just came out with a line of Star Wars themed Instapots, and my immediate knee-jerk reaction was, I need them all. But my budget says you can't have them, so that's a little bit of a struggle. But yes, I think there's 5 different designs that they have, and I honestly, if I could afford it, well, probably not even then. If I get the chance and they get cheap at some point in my life, I will probably own all 5 of them just because I love them so much. And one thing that kind of bugs me, and I guess it doesn't really bug me as much as it can be kind of an inconvenience, is there's this little lip here around so that your Instapot comes out, and then you have this heating element in here. And around the edge, there's this little metal rim. And underneath that is where it seals. So, I don't know, you can't see that. It seals down in here, not up here. So if there's anything, like if you accidentally get some rice into that little hole, or if you accidentally, if there's any kind of gunk in there, you have to make sure that you're cleaning that out really well, because otherwise it won't pressurize. And then you'll wind up coming in to check on it thinking that it's supposed to be done and finding out that it's not pressurizing, and then having to clean it. So make sure that you're paying a lot of attention to that little rim in there and getting it really clean. I mean, I'm talking like there can't even be, I don't want to say dust. It's not quite that bad. But if there's anything that falls in there, and it's kind of hard sometimes to tell too, because if you see here, it juts out. So sometimes things will hide underneath there. So you really have to take a rag, or sometimes I've even used like a butter knife and got in there and moved underneath those things so that they get nice and clean, because otherwise it won't seal. And then you wind up frustrated because dinner was supposed to be done 45 minutes ago and it hasn't even pressurized yet. But yeah, so that's the Instapot, and it's a great replacement for a lot of your other appliances that you're going to have in your kitchen. It's wonderful for the pressure. Oh, another thing. So there's a couple different kind of releases that you do. There's a natural release where once the Instapot is done with its pressurized cooking time, it will beep at you. And then usually from that time that it beeps, if you're doing a natural release recipe, it takes approximately, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes maybe up to 20, depending on how long it was cooking for. So a natural release recipe, it's going to take an extra 15 minutes for this puppy to depressurize. So keep that in mind too. So if you're making something, you want to consider that you might be looking at an extra half an hour on that cooking time in the recipe, because it's going to need to come up to pressure, and then it's going to need to release the pressure. There are other recipes that call for a quick release, and all that is you have this little knob right up here, and if you want it, like if you're slow cooking it, you're going to vent it. So you're going to turn it off to the side so that the steam can escape. If you're doing anything pressure cook related, you want it in the center so that it's keeping the steam inside. If it's a quick release recipe, what's going to happen is when it beeps at you telling you that it's done cooking, you're going to come in here, you're going to make sure that this is not underneath any counters. Like you see how I have this cabinet above it. I always make sure that the vent is facing out here so that when the steam comes up, it's not coming up under my cabinet, because it can actually warp your cabinets. Speaking of cabinets, there's my lovely hole in the glass door that we didn't know existed. Long story. Anyways, so just make sure that it's not venting under your cabinets, because you can ruin your cabinets that way. So I just make sure that it's turned out and then it's not going to destroy anything. But quick release, you just make sure you might want to use like a towel or a pot holder or something and when you do the quick release, because you can burn yourself with the steam that comes out of there. It's extraordinarily hot. So be mindful of that. Trying to think if there's any other tips and tricks I can give you aside from like actual recipes or ways to cook things. And I think that I've covered just about everything. I promise I will get better. I think I'm going to make myself a list of notes for the next video. But I really appreciate you sticking around. I hope that you will get brave enough to try an Instapot or an off-brand. It doesn't have to be the exact Instapot brand. They do have other brands out there that are cheaper. So if you see one on sale during the holidays and you're curious, go buy one. Try it, test it. I promise that you will not be disappointed. And I'm not the type of person to really advocate for something like that, but trust me, this thing has been a lifesaver for me. So I hope that you are brave enough to go try it if you're curious, and I hope that you like this video. And I will see you guys next time when I am making beans. We're gonna make some black beans because we're gonna have black bean and sweet potato tacos, and I'm really excited because they're so good. But that'll be for our next video. You guys have a great day. Bye.